What's up, YouTube? This is Gresnick, and welcome back to another reaction video, where we will be reacting to Film Theory, the complete Avatar timeline. Now, this is a long video, so this is going to be a long video. I was considering turning this to a part 1 and part 2 thing, but then I was like, nah, that's stupid. I'm just gonna react to the entire thing. So yeah, I'm doing that. As always, like and subscribe to the Film Theorist and myself, and let's get into this.
Sponsored by WB Games. Did you know that there was an evil avatar that hated humans? Or that there was a Fire Nation avatar that worked for the government? Or that Julie did the thing and became president? This is the entire timeline for the Avatar franchise, from the shows, to the books, to the comics and games, and beyond. And putting all of this information together will let us predict the plot of the new show, Avatar 7 Havens, coming in the next few years.
Yo, crazy new show.
Hello internets, welcome to Film Theory, the show that's been reincarnated as the next Avatar. Yep, so this series doesn't need much of an introduction. In the world of Avatar, people can bend one of the 4 classic elements: water, earth, fire, and air, while one person born every generation called the Avatar can bend all 4 elements, hoping to keep the balance between everyone else in the world. This franchise is one of the deepest universes introduced in the last couple of decades, and honestly, it's a big favorite of mine. I literally remember when it premiered on Nick. I am an OG and watched it day 1. But there is like a lot of it, right? Like, did you know that there were novels about avatars we don't really see much of in the show? Or comics that expanded the story from the TV series? Or a tabletop RPG that gave us crucial insight into avatars and eras that we basically knew nothing about before? While I was rewatching the shows recently with a friend, I realized that they didn't actually know about all that stuff. He also didn't think that there was a great place to really learn about all of it, and I took that personally. So I wanted to do something different today and bring all of that information into one place, one big collection, one big timeline. But before we do that, as you've probably noticed by now, this video is really long, much longer than we can normally make, and we were only able to take a big swing like this thanks to the sponsor of today's theory, DC Worlds Collide. If you don't know, DC was favored in UMash team. Join the rock characters you're a fan of during play a couple rounds of events, and click the link below or scan the QR code on screen to squad up and download DC Worlds Collide on iOS and Android right now. Again, we're only able to take big swings on videos like this thanks to partners like WB Games, so again, thank you for sponsoring this theory. But for now, let's get back to the Avatar timeline. So yeah, today we're going through every important piece of Avatar storytelling ever released and put together a timeline that will give you everything you could possibly need to know about this world. And believe me, there is a lot. For real, on top of the comic book continuations of both Avatar Aang and Korra's adventures, there's an entire book series covering the stories of the avatars that came before them. There's also tons of old websites and webtoons and trivia snippets and video games and tabletop RPG resource books that also add to the world and give some pretty crucial information that isn't actually mentioned in the shows. It's wild. And it's here where I have to give a massive shout out to the awesome Avatar fan community and a lot of the work that they put in over on places like the Fandom Wiki, or the various Tumblr archives of old Nick websites that are now gone. Though I've watched, read, and played pretty much everything related to Avatar, this just would not have been possible without those awesome resources. You guys are incredible. Alright, so ground rules before we go in. Like, how are we actually going to count time here? There are a couple of ways we could. Like, for example, we could count everything per avatar. In that system, history would be tracked started at 0 with the birth of each new avatar. So, for example, the Kyoshi era ended year 230, starting year 0 of the Roku era. That lasted until year 70, when Roku died, starting year 0 of the Aang era, etc., etc. However, this can get really confusing to track, so instead, like most of the fandom, we're gonna pick a year 0 and then count forwards and backwards from there. Similar to BC and AD here in the real world. In Avatar, that point is when Fire Lord Sozin killed most of the air nomads, so we're gonna be categorizing dates as either before the air nomad genocide, BG, and after genocide AG. Yes, that is the actual canonical name for the event and the dates used. Please don't get mad at me, YouTube. I swear I won't say the G word again. Anyway, regardless, hey, at least that makes sense as like the choice for our central date, because, I mean...
everything changed when the Fire Nation attacked.
Oh, and also, for your convenience, and so you can like check out any of the source material we're actually talking about, we're going to be putting where we are sourcing our information in little pop-ups that are going to be coming up as lower thirds in the video. Honestly, that system is going to be like a little bit of an experiment for us. We've done it before in like the FNAF timeline, but I mean, everything in this video is kind of an experiment, so please let me know in the comments what you think about that, and honestly, just the timeline in general. I really want to hear your feedback
I'm
for this.
excited.
But anyway, with that out of the way,
Avatar.
let's dive
really
into
read
the
anything.
world of Avatar. Thousands of years ago, before the year 19,829 BG, several spirits manifest into the physical world after Vatu, the spirit of darkness and chaos, breaks down the barrier between the physical and spiritual worlds, allowing creatures to freely pass between either realm. This includes Tui and La, the spirits of the moon and ocean who manifest as koi fish. A spirit known as the Mother of Faces also gives birth to another spirit, Ko the Face Stealer, around this time. Rava, the spirit of light and peace, emerges and duels Vatu, though the two are locked in a stalemate. Around the year 19,829 BG, an event known as harmonic convergence begins. The planets align and spiritual energy is amplified as spirit portals in both the north and south poles merge. This event only happens once every 10,000 years. During harmonic convergence, Vatu and Rava battle to determine whether the world will live in peace or fall into chaos until the next event. Rava wins this fight, restraining Vatu for the next 10,000 years. Over the next 10,000 years, human civilization arises as they form a symbiotic relationship with the great lion turtles. Cities are built upon the shells of the lion turtles who protect the humans from dangerous spirits roaming freely throughout the world. Though the cities were originally all connected, eventually they lost contact with and knowledge of one another. Over this period, each city developed their own unique cultures. Additionally, elemental bending first emerges during this time. When humans leave the safety of their lion turtle cities, the lion turtles give them the ability to control one of the elements water, earth, fire, or air in order to protect themselves. When the humans return to the cities, their bending is taken away by the lion turtles. In the year 9,850 BG, a man named Juan is born in a lion turtle city where firebending is gifted to its humans. 18 years later, in 9,832 BG, Juan is living in poverty. Along with some friends, he steals from the wealthy in the city. Many members of the ruling Chow family bully Juan and his friends, and Juan wishes to gain power to improve their conditions. Juan joins a hunting party and is given firebending by the lion turtle, but is able to trick his way back into the city without giving the bending back. This is against the city's laws, and Juan uses it to incite a rebellion against the Chows. However, Juan's identity is revealed during the battle, and he is banished from the city by the lion turtle, though the lion turtle does agree to let Juan keep his firebending to protect himself out in the wild. Though originally scared, Juan befriends several spirits out in the wilds. He saves a cat deer he names Mula from hunters, and Mula becomes his loyal animal companion and guide. Juan saves several spirits from hunters from his home city, and the spirits eventually come to accept him, helping him master his firebending. Specifically, Juan learns advanced firebending techniques from a white dragon. This would later become known as the dancing dragon form. A couple of years later, in the year 9,830 BG, Juan discovers Rava and Vatu locked in a struggle. Vatu tricks Juan and begs for his help, and Juan frees Vatu, releasing darkness and chaos out into the world. Vatu quickly corrupts many normally peaceful spirits who become dangerous and violent. Rava explains who she is, and Juan understands his mistake, offering to help defeat Vatu. Though he is briefly turned away, Rava realizes that she is growing weaker and agrees. After helping a group of airbenders protect their city from spirits corrupted by Vatu, Juan requests to be granted airbending from the lion turtle. No human had ever had more than one bending ability before, so Rava holds onto the power for Juan until he masters it, passing through his body and combining their energies to grant him the bending power. Over the course of the next year, the two work together, and Juan also receives the powers of water and earth bending. He masters all four elements as harmonic convergence grows near. In the year 9,829 BG, harmonic convergence occurs, with Juan and Rava battling Vatu. Juan and Rava's spirits merge, creating the Avatar spirit, and making Juan the very first Avatar, master of all four elements. With their combined abilities, they trap Vatu in a prison known as the Tree of Time, and to maintain peace, Juan separates the human human and spirit worlds once again, sealing the portals at the North and South Poles. The Lion Turtles decide that their role as protectors of humanity has come to an end, believing the Avatar to have taken up that mantle. They no longer grant humans the ability to bend and disappear. The different peoples and cultures of the now gone Lion Turtle cities meet, and many begin to clash due to their cultural differences. Sadly, war is frequently waged between the groups, and though Wan intervenes to keep the peace, he is rarely successful. A much older Wan eventually dies on a battlefield trying to stop one such war. He apologizes to Rava, saddened that even with Vatu sealed, darkness has continued to spread across the world. Rava comforts Wan as he dies, and Wan and Rava's combined spirit is reborn into a new body, and thus, the Avatar cycle officially begins. A great deal happened over the next 6,000 years, between 9,829 and 3,829 BG. Despite the new barrier between the human and spirit worlds, some spirits are able to interact with the human world, including Wan Shi Tong, a spirit who collects knowledge. He transports his spirit library into the human world, where it finds a home in the middle of what would become the Siwang Desert on the planet's main continent. Other spirits include Lady Tianhe, guardian of the seashore, and her protector, General Old Iron. Several humans settled in the area protected by Tianhe, who was fascinated by the humans and decided to protect them. They started a village known as Tianheishi in her honor. Though the Lion Turtles were no longer around to grant bending, the ability reemerges throughout the continents as humans studied and learned from the natural world. Several nomadic peoples discover the art of airbending from the flying bison, and the Sun Warriors rediscover firebending from the dragons. Several people across the world are able to learn waterbending by observing the push and pull of the moon on the ocean. Unintentionally, they had learned this power from the spirits Tui and La. Finally, others on the main continent did the same with earthbending and the badger moles. The first known earthbenders trained in this way were the lovers Oma and Shu from two warring towns. Slowly, true civilization begins to emerge. Several of the nomads who learned airbending from the flying bison form temples across the world. One early airbending master named Guru Lahima is able to let go of his earthly tethers and unlocks the rare ability of unassisted flight. It is said that he did not touch the ground for the last 40 years of his life. Additionally, at least one civilization rose and fell over the course of these thousands of years in the South Pole, leaving nothing but their temples behind. On the largest continent, several like-minded people began to gather and found new settlements that slowly grow into cities. One of these would become the largest such settlement in the world, the walled city of Ba Sing Se. Elsewhere, the earthbender Shu is killed during a battle of the warring villages, and in her grief, Oma uses her earthbending to end the conflict. Under her leadership, the two towns come together and form a new city in honor of her fallen love. This city would later be known as Omashu. Additionally, powerful earthbenders become sages for this new earthbending culture, gaining status as political officials. A pair of powerful earthbenders and conjoined twins, one named Hundun, rise to influence. The two crown themselves kings and are able to harness the power of chaos to attack others. An unidentified incarnation of the Avatar defeats the twins, greatly injuring one, and banishes them to the spirit world, where their sole purpose becomes extracting revenge on the Avatar. A series of other wars breaks out across the largest continent, and among the belligerents is the kingdom of Ba Sing Se. Eventually, they defeat every other kingdom and absorb them into their government, forming the vast Earth Kingdom that spreads across the entire continent. The king of Ba Sing Se is crowned the Earth King, while all other kings of the now vassal states become lords of the new nation. Waterbenders in the north form a unified tribe and build a large city, Agna Kala. However, as civil unrest begins amongst the various tribes in this coalition, one faction splits off and heads to the South Pole. This new southern water tribe builds their own civilization and eventually heals relations with their cousins in the northern water tribe. Like the Earth Sages, a group of waterbenders known as the Water Sages become integral to their society, though they retain spiritual importance rather than becoming political figures. Additionally, over the millennia, at least one group of southern water tribesmen wander through the Earth Kingdom and discover a vast wetland known as the Foggy Swamp. They settle down here, forming the Foggy Swamp tribe, though their own origins are eventually lost to them. Meanwhile, the Sun Warriors flourish in the archipelago they call home, led by a single chief. The majority of the rest of the inhabitants of these islands are influenced by Sun Warrior culture, though many of their chieftains devolve into warlords claiming territory across the archipelago. Others form organizations of wise fire sages, traveling out into the rest of the world to learn from it. The various warlords eventually come come into conflict, though one named Taz is far more brutal than the others and rises to power across the entire archipelago. One village stood up to Taz, and the warlord had their children abducted in retaliation. It's unknown what became of them, but they were never seen again. The mothers of these children died from grief and returned as dark spirits, themselves abducting the children of Taz, other warlords, and their subordinates. This eventually causes Taz's regime to fall. Other warlords attempt to emulate Taz, but one emerges as a territorial leader, eventually bringing most of the archipelago together under a single banner, the Fire Nation. Only a few remote islands remain independent. This man, whose name is lost to history, became the first Fire Lord and recruited the Fire Sages as spiritual leaders in his new empire. The resulting era was peaceful, but cultural differences amongst the majority of the Fire Island gradually fades away, and its people homogenize. For the next several thousand years, these four nations become increasingly isolated, with some enforcing segregation. Cultures with mixed benders gradually die out, while others are violently destroyed. Only a handful of mixed bending cultures survive, like the Lombak clan on a remote Fire Island, who only do so due to distrust of outsiders and strict isolationism. Obviously, several avatars live and die during these millennia, but we don't know most of their names. Of the few we do hear tale of, there is Avatar Salai, remembered as one of the greatest avatars of their age, and Avatar Gun, who gradually lost faith in humanity. He found humans to be ungrateful and constantly demanding of more, and was only calmed by his friend and companion, the poet and engineer Misose. A great tsunami hit a harbor city during Avatar Gun's era, and though Gun attempted to stop the disaster, he was unable to. Misose died during the flooding, causing Gun to go into self-imposed isolation. He was blamed by the world for not stopping the tsunami. At some point, a group of scholars and warriors from all four nations come together and form the Order of the White Lotus, a secret society dedicated to sharing knowledge regardless of political divides. The organization is often tasked with finding and protecting new incarnations of the Avatar, though they mostly do so in secret. We get more information about exact events the closer and closer we get to the era of Avatar Aang and the 100-Year War. For example, several hundred years BG, the spirit lady Tianhe falls in love with a mortal man in the village of Tianheishi, assuming a mortal form to marry him. She gives up her immortality and eventually dies, angering General Old Iron. Elsewhere, an earthbender who would eventually be known as Tigwai may have been born. Tigwai masters hidden spiritual knowledge and uses it to bring complete order to his body, ceasing his aging entirely. Functionally, he becomes immortal. The exact date of Tigwai's birth is unknown, and he would later hint that he could be thousands of years old by the era of Avatar Kyoshi. Eventually, Avatar Zito is born to the Fire Nation. His status was discovered early after he bent a second element early in his childhood. When Zito was a child, a major crisis threatened the Fire Nation. Plagues and natural disasters ravaged the islands, while violence between several noble clans eroded the empire. Faced with these crises, Zito devoted his life to work within the Fire Nation government, rejecting any special privileges and advancing in rank only on his own merits. Zito was a gifted diplomat, accountant, and bureaucrat, reinforcing Fire Lord Yosor's power and authority. Eventually, he became a grand advisor to the Fire Lord and helped restore the Fire Nation's government and economy. Scholars of the age argued that he saved the Fire Nation from complete collapse. Because of this, though Zito was respected by other nations during his life, he spent most of his time looking inwardly to the Fire Nation, only occasionally traveling outside of the islands. Two such instances were spending time at the Northern Air Temple and in Wan Shitong's Spirit Library. Looking back, many international scholars believe that Zito was too focused on the Fire Nation and that his decision-making as the Avatar, a position meant to serve all peoples and nations, was biased in favor of his homeland. Though outwardly he seemed put together and like a man with nothing to hide, Zito's successors would think that inwardly he had a difficult, messy life. After some decades, Zito would pass away and his spirit reincarnated as Avatar Yangchen, born to the air nomads of the Western Air Temple. In her youth, Yangchen is plagued by voices in her head, and by the age of 8, she'd fall into painful epileptic fits because of them. In reality, this was no sickness, but instead spirits of past avatars and their memories briefly emerging. And because of this, Yangchen and those around her realized that she was the Avatar much younger than was typical. When Yangchen was 9 years old, the Fire Nation and Water water tribes conspired to back an Earth Kingdom general attempting a coup against the Earth King by sending bars of platinum to pay for the general's armies and expenses. The Earth King defeats the general and discovers the intervention from the other nations, and in retaliation, the Earth King closes most of his ports to the water tribes and Fire Nation. He takes the platinum ingots and plates a statue in his throne room with them, and says that he will not reopen relations until the platinum has rusted enough to appear like stone. This could theoretically take hundreds of years. The entire event becomes known as the Platinum Affair. The Fire Nation and Water Tribes declare similar policies of isolationism, with the only trade between the three nations being what is absolutely necessary and passing through only a handful of cities. The families running these cities become known as the Shang merchant class, and slowly grow in power and wealth, eventually conspiring together in what they call the Unanimity Project, hoping to someday gain independence from the other nations. Additionally, the art of combustion bending, a specialized form of firebending, is first developed by firebenders in the employ of the Shangs. When Yang Chen is 11, she enters the spirit world for the first time, alongside her sister and teacher Jetson. The two encounter a group of spirits, and though Yang Chen does not fear them, one of her past lives does. They possess her body, and the spirits turn dark in retaliation. Jetson sacrifices herself to save Yang Chen, who returns to the human world. Jetson's spirit is lost, and her body dies soon afterwards. Around this time, the mortal body of the spirit Tianhe also dies, enraging her friend and protector, General Old Iron. Yang Chen masters the four elements and the avatar state by the time she turns 17, and with the nations so isolationist, she begins to learn the game of politics to find compromise between the peoples. These skills also allow her to soothe relations between humans and spirits. There are many examples of this, including, but not limited to, striking a deal between General Old Iron and the residents of Tianhe village, resettling the humans and allowing the location to be retaken by nature, building a truce between a group of phoenix eel spirits and the local humans on a Fire Nation island, and negotiating amnesty for two water tribe quartermasters imprisoned since the Platinum Affair. Yang Chen visits the city of Ben Ir, one of the ports open for trade in the control of the Shangs, and is horrified by the wealth disparity between the Shangs and the common folk. She tries to implement change, but is refused, and she discovers the Unanimity Project. As Yang Chen attempts to expose their wrongdoings, the Shangs unleash their combustion benders on Ben Ir as a display of power, but they are captured and imprisoned at the Northern Air Temple. Yang Chen is given administration over the city and gains political power. Some months later, agents of the Shangs attack the Northern Air Temple to help the combustion benders. One of them is killed, one is taken into protection by Yang Chen, and the final one escapes. A Shang named Chaisi plans an attack on another port city, hoping to force world leaders to give her family independent rulership over their home port. Yang Chen discovers the plan and is able to thwart the worst of the attack, though her Sky Bison companion Nujian is killed. In the aftermath, using her political savvy, Yang Chen is able to negotiate or blackmail the four nations into abolishing the leadership of the Shang port cities, naming the Avatar as their protector instead. She becomes the de facto ruler of these cities and takes control of the network of spies and assistants that the Shangs built up. With this, she begins the process of diffusing the Cold War between the isolationist kingdoms. Over the next decades, Yang Chen continues making deals between the spirits and humans of the world, though these are fragile agreements at best. A long-standing coalition of pirates and criminals from every nation based out of the Eastern Seas formally organize and build their own distinct culture. They eventually begin calling themselves the Fifth Nation, independent from any laws of the other four nations. Recognizing their power and danger, Yang Chen negotiates and signs a peace deal with the Fifth Nation, protecting the southern coasts of the Earth Kingdom from their raids. Around this time, the man now known as Tiguai the Immortal assassinates the 40th Earth King. In the year 345 BG, Avatar Yang Chen dies, and Avatar Kuruk is born in the Northern Water Tribe. In the decades between 345 and 312 BG, Kuruk is an ill-behaved child, but is discovered to be the Avatar on the typical timeline. He's told of his destiny when he turns 16 and spends the next few years mastering the elements. While learning to master the Avatar state, Kuruk accidentally destroys a small uninhabited island in the Mosi Sea. Additionally, during this period, he befriends an earthbender named Jianzu, an airbender named Kelsang, and a firebender named Heiran. The trio would become Kuruk's closest friends, advisors, and companions. Kuruk would also harbor feelings for Heiran for many years, but they were never acted upon. Many of the treaties between the humans and spirits negotiated by Yang Chen fall apart after her death, leading the spirits to turn dark and attack the humans that break the pacts. Kuruk discovers this, tracks down, and battles many of the spirits, but these fights cause a great deal of damage to his physical body and spiritual vitality. After one such difficult battle, Kuruk meets a fire sage named Nyahitha, who is the only person Kuruk actually tells about his confrontations with the dark spirits. Nyahitha does his best to heal Kuruk's body and soul, but Kuruk's condition consistently deteriorates as he continues to fight the spirits. This leads Kuruk into a great depression, and he neglects neglects his other duties as the Avatar. He would often search for dark spirits or powerful benders to fight for no reason other than his own amusement or an attempt to feel alive. Tragically, everyone else in Kuruk's life believes he is being irresponsible and impulsive, and the relationships with his companions deteriorates, much to his grief. In particular, Kuruk is devastated when Heiron finds love and marries elsewhere. Channeling this grief into more combat against dark spirits, Kuruk tracks down Father Glowworm, a spirit creating holes between the human and spirit worlds. The two do battle, but Glowworm is stronger than many other spirits. Kuruk stubbornly fights on, greatly wounding Glowworm, though the spirit is able to escape. Father Glowworm curses the Avatar, but is too injured to make a return for at least another generation. Kuruk is also greatly harmed during this battle and would never fully recover. Still, Kuruk's self-destructive lifestyle would continue until he met a woman named Umi. The two fell in love and were to be married, but as they approached the altar, Umi was pulled into the spirit world by Ko, the face stealer, in retaliation for Kuruk's attacks against spirits. Despite multiple attempts, Kuruk could never save Umi, whose face was stolen by Ko. In the year 312 BG, Kuruk dies aged just 33. He gathers his friends and companions as he dies and instructs them to find and train the next Avatar, to do right by them and make up for his mistakes. Kuruk would leave a complicated legacy. Widely believed to be a failure, most were unaware of the great sacrifices he made to fight off evil spirits. The nations would also fall into chaos after his death because of his neglect. The Fifth Nation would break their agreement with Yangchen and begin to raid the Earth Kingdom, while groups of bandits organized into a group called the Yellownecks in hopes of overthrowing the Earth King. But the cycle must continue, as Avatar Kyoshi would be born this same year, the daughter of a pair of thieves and actors part of a group called the Flying Opera Company. By 306 BG, they would leave Kyoshi in the care of Yokoya Village and return to their life of crime, but the villagers would abandon Kyoshi too. Homeless, she struggles to find food for much of her childhood. In 305 BG, Jianzhu and Kelsang have been searching for the new Avatar but have had little luck. They stumble upon Kyoshi and give her food, but she runs away before she can be identified. In 304 BG, Jianzhu defeats most of the Yellownecks in battle, burying 5,000 of the rebels alive. The remaining Yellownecks go into hiding while their leader, a firebender named Zhu Ping-an, is imprisoned in the Fire Nation so his ability to generate lightning can be studied. Kelsang also defeats a large portion of the Fifth Nation pirates, and their remnants are led by the waterbending pirate queen Tagaka, who becomes infamous for defeating the Earth Kingdom Navy and raiding the Southern Water Tribe. Finally, the War of Secrets and Daggers begins in the Earth Kingdom, as several Earth princes of the royal family feud over the throne and hire assassins to remove rivals. In 299 BG, Kyoshi's parents die from a sickness and are mourned by the rest of the Flying Opera Company. The next year, 298 BG, Jianzhu and Kelsang discover a talented 14-year-old earthbender named Yoon who uses a unique strategy Kuruk developed for the game Pai Sho. Though doubts linger, they incorrectly identify Yoon as the new Avatar and take him under their wing, beginning his Avatar training in a mansion in the Yokoya Peninsula. As fate would have it, this is where Kyoshi was also living, and out of kindness, Kelsang adopts Kyoshi. She becomes a maid and bodyguard for Yoon. By 296 BG, Yoon has been trained by Kuruk's former team, Jianzhu, Kelsang, and Heiron, and though he is the perfect Avatar diplomatically, he has been unable to produce any other elements. Yoon also befriends the now tall and strong Kyoshi and Heiron's daughter, Rongi. Yoon, Kyoshi, and their entourage travel to the Fifth Nation to sign a diplomatic treaty with the pirates. Jianzhu gifts Kyoshi with an armored kimono for the occasion, which would become her signature look. The negotiations with Tagaka sour, and the Pirate Queen attempts to capture the Avatar. Kyoshi saves Yoon by entering the Avatar state and destroying much of the Fifth Nation, causing Jianzhu and Kelsang to second-guess themselves. With a looming Avatar succession crisis, Jianzhu takes Yoon and Kyoshi to see Father Glowworm, who correctly identifies Kyoshi as the Avatar. Jianzhu sacrifices Yoon to the spirit, who is left behind and thought dead. Because of this, Kyoshi refuses Jianzhu as a teacher, though he intends to force her to stay and train her. Kelsang confronts Jianzhu about Yoon and is killed, causing Kyoshi and Rongi to escape into the Earth Kingdom. They meet the Flying Opera Company, who become trusted companions to the Avatar. During their travels, Kyoshi deduces that one of the criminals, an old drunk named Laogi, is not who he seems. He is actually the assassin Tigui the Immortal, putting up a facade to hide his abilities. In addition to her bending training, Laogi also trains Kyoshi in the ways of assassination and how to extend her lifespan. The Flying Opera Company help free Zhu Ping-an, who plans to restore the Yellownecks and continue his reign of terror. Kyoshi cannot stand for this and kills Zhu Ping-an in a duel. Elsewhere, Jianzhu is questioned by the Council of Earth Sages about his handling of Yoon and Kyoshi. He's deemed unfit to act as the Avatar's guardian, and in retaliation, Jianzhu poisons and kills all of the sages. Meanwhile, Yoon awakens in the spirit world and battles Father Glowworm to a stalemate. The two are evenly matched, but Yoon eventually overpowers Glowworm, consumes his his essence and merges with the spirit. Using Glowworm's power, Yoon returns to the human world and realizes he has a connection with Kyoshi thanks to the curse that Glowworm put on the Avatar. Angered by the betrayal of Jianzhu, Yoon begins a campaign of revenge against everyone he thinks has wronged him, including Kelsang and Heiran. Kyoshi, Jianzhu, and Yoon all confront one another in a tea house in Kinchao village, where Yoon kills Jianzhu and then escapes. Over the next year, Kyoshi continues her Avatar duties, defeating several Fifth Nation fleets, a bandit clan called the Emerald Claws, and both a criminal triad and corrupt peace officers in Ba Sing Se. In 295 BG, Kyoshi is invited by the Fire Lord to attend the Festival of Zeto, during which Yoon targets Heiran. Several guests are taken hostage, and two, an Earth Kingdom noble from the Beifong clan and a Fire Nation diplomat, are killed. This triggers a small conflict known as the Camellia Peony War. Kyoshi eventually confronts Yoon in Yokoya and sadly kills Yoon during the battle. He is buried on a hill overlooking the village as Kyoshi and Rangi mourn their lost friend. Kyoshi and Rangi admit their feelings for one another and start a relationship, as Kyoshi also meets a fox that becomes her animal companion. Sometime between 295 and 293 BG, with bandits becoming a larger threat, Kyoshi forms the Anti-Corruption Task Force in Ba Sing Se to defeat them, and are able to do so thanks to the help of various heroes who take up the cause. Around 270 BG, Kyoshi formally adopts Yokoya Peninsula as her home and trains the first generation of warriors in her image. They would later become known as simply the Kyoshi Warriors. Unfortunately, the world continues to be divided. The air nomads lose several spiritual sites due to the long-term consequences of Kuruk's crusade against dark spirits, and the Camellia Peony War causes the Northern Air Temple to temporarily close their borders. The Fifth Nation also attacks the independent city-state of Jasmine Island, unsuccessfully trying to annex it. Due to the destabilization of the Earth Kingdom, there's a growing dissent against the Earth King. A local leader who would become known as Qin the Conqueror rebels against the kingdom, and is able to take over most of the continent save for Ba Sing Se and Yokoya Peninsula. Kyoshi confronts Qin, who demands her surrender. Instead, she splits the peninsula from the mainland, forming Kyoshi Island. During this incredible feat of strength, the ground beneath Qin collapses, killing him and ending his rebellion. But despite Qin's death, the instability continues, causing a peasant uprising against the Earth King. They declare him unfit to rule and rebel in Ba Sing Se, storming the city's upper ring. The Earth King summons Kyoshi to the capital to squash the uprising, but she refuses and proposes a compromise. The king would listen to the peasants' grievances and draft a new constitution protecting more rights for commoners, and in return, Kyoshi would train an elite force of earthbenders to protect the Earth Kingdom and its interests. The Earth King agrees, and this special force becomes known as the Dai Li. Sometime after this, Kyoshi greatly extends her life using Lao Gi's teachings. Though she is able to help commoners throughout this whole time, Kyoshi's long life changes her, and she becomes more willing to take lives. This sadly creates a cycle of violence where some turn to wrongdoing because of Kyoshi's actions. This is voiced by Kyoshi's airbending companion Disha, who warns the Avatar that she may become unrecognizable if she lives for another century. Kyoshi dislikes this assessment, prompting Disha to leave the Avatar, and airbending masters to refuse aiding Kyoshi any further. In 82 BG, Kyoshi finally dies, aged 230. No one is sure what actually ends up killing Kyoshi, though Disha hopes that her advice helped Kyoshi finally let go. In the wake of her death, the Earth Sages, reformed under Kyoshi, uphold her peace and laws. But the cycle must continue, as Avatar Roku is born to a noble family in the Fire Nation. He is part of a pair of twins, the other being named Yasu. On the same day, Prince Sozin of the Fire Nation was also born. A great deal happens over the next 16 years between 82 and 66 BG. An infant Roku discovers a dragon egg, and he names it Fang when it hatches. It becomes his lifelong animal companion. Roku, Yasu, and Sozin also become very close friends in their childhood. Isolationist philosophy goes out of style with the air nomads who open their temples to foreign nations. In particular, their teachings are popular with Fire Nation nobility. The Southern Water Tribe recovers from the damage and poverty caused by the age of piracy, and the world is on a brink of a technological industrial revolution as educational institutes pop up all over the world. Several scattered uprisings in the Fire Nation known as the Outer Islands Rebellions crop up, dissatisfied with the rule of the Fire Lord, but they're not a serious threat. Finally, the Earth King makes changes to the constitution Kyoshi drafted to the objection of the Earth Sages. Sadly, in 70 BG, Yasu is killed during an accident at sea, deeply affecting Roku. In 66 BG, Roku is announced as the new Avatar on his 16th birthday, and Sozin is excited for his friend even if it means that Roku must leave. Roku begins his Avatar training, learning airbending at the Southern Air Temple. He's taught by Kyoshi's airbending companion Disha, and befriends a young monk named Gyatso. The independent island of Lambak is discovered by both the Earth Kingdom's Western Kingdom Trading Company and the Fire Nation. Lambak is one of the few remaining isolated islands with a mixed bending culture and is home to several caves full of spiritual energy that enhance bending. As a result, both parties want to annex the island, and Sozin tricks Roku into aiding his cause. The Western Kingdom Trading Company is defeated, but Roku kills the Lambak clan chief while defending his friends. Roku convinces Sozin to let Lambak remain independent. However, this is done by incorporating it into the Fire Nation as a, quote, special region, effectively turning Lambak into Sozin's personal fiefdom. Sometime after 66 BG, the Earth King sends the corrupted Dai Li to round up every single Earth Sage since the Order spoke out against him. The Order is abolished, and the few sages that remain are reformed as Grand Electors, loyal to the Earth King. The event becomes known as the Night of the Silent Sages, and the Queen of Omashu opposes the action, leading to tensions that almost spark all-out war. In 56 BG, Sozin ascends to Fire Lord after the death of his father, and he is popular with his people due to how he handled the Lambak Island conflict. Over the next few years, Sozin consolidates his rule, fully stamping out rebellions from noble houses and uplifting the country's poorest. Technological development continues as the Fire Nation develops a coal-powered fleet, creating hundreds of jobs for Fire Nation citizens. However, resources for the boats are scarce, leading to tensions between the Fire Nation and other kingdoms, not helped by Sozin claiming island territory of both the Earth Kingdom and Water Tribes for their ore. During this period, a massive tsunami hits the northern Earth Kingdom state of Qinbao. The Water Tribes blame the Earthbenders for the disaster, while the Earth Kingdom blames Waterbenders. This leads to the Northern Passage conflict that almost escalates into war, stopped only through Roku's intervention. In the fallout, the governor of Qinbao places a tax on all Water Tribe goods in the Northern Passage. There's no reasonable way to enforce this, and all Water Tribe goods effectively become contraband in the Earth Kingdom. Sozin's sister, Fire Princess Zaysan, renounces her title and wealth to marry an airbender named Kandro, leader of an outlaw group called the Guiding Wind. Zaysan sensed corruption in her family and did this partially to hurt Sozin's reputation, enraging the Fire Lord. To maintain popularity, Sozin organizes the first dragon hunts with the nobility, giving any who slay one the honorary title of dragon. The nobility love the sport, and many more dragons are killed than intended, nearly leading to their extinction. In response to this, as well as rising tensions and growing industrialization, the Sun Warriors go into complete isolation from the outside world. Many believe them to completely die out, while some in the Fire Nation are even taught that they went extinct thousands of years ago. In 54 BG, Roku returns to the Fire Nation to settle down, marrying a noblewoman and diplomat named Ta Min. Sozin is his best man, and during the wedding shares his vision for a worldwide Fire Nation empire, hoping to spread the wealth to the other nations. Roku forbids the idea, but going against him, Sozin begins to establish colonies in Earth Kingdom and Air Nomad territory. In 37 BG, Roku discovers the first of these colonies and confronts Sozin. Roku easily defeats him and destroys the Fire Nation throne room, ordering Sozin to stop his expansion. In 12 BG, the volcano on Roku's home island erupts, and as Roku attempts to calm it, Sozin sees the eruption and rushes to help his friend. Together, the two contain most of the volcano and save the island. However, Roku is hit by poisonous gas from the eruption, and seizing the opportunity to expand Fire Nation power, Sozin leaves Roku to die with his dragon fang. Aged just 70, Roku accepts his death, and Avatar Aang is born soon afterwards to the Air Nomads. He is more or less raised by Roku's airbending companion, Monk Gyatso. Over the next 10 years, Aang is shown to be an airbending prodigy. He invents a new technique called the air scooter and earns his tattoos, making him the youngest airbending master in history. Aang also travels the world and makes friends in every nation, including a boy named Bumi in Omashu and Kuzan of the Fire Nation. Aang also bonds with his sky bison Appa, who becomes his lifelong animal companion. In the year 0 BG, sensing the looming war with the Fire Nation's expansionism, most of the air monks wish to accelerate Aang's avatar training in hopes that he can maintain peace. Gyatso fiercely opposes this, believing that Aang should have a normal childhood, but he's outvoted and Aang is told that he is the avatar 4 years earlier than normal, isolating him from other children. The monks decide to send Aang away from Gyatso, which Aang overhears, devastating him and causing him to run away. Distraught, Aang flies to the South Pole, but is caught in a great storm and pulled underwater. Aang saves himself and Appa by entering the Avatar state and suspending them in ice. Fire Lord Sozin discovers a comet that approaches the planet, which greatly enhances firebending power. Using Sozin's comet, the Fire Nation attack all Air Nomad temples, attempting to kill the Avatar before he can stop the Fire Nation's expansion. Every single Air Nomad is killed during this initial attack, or in the following years. Simultaneously, the Fire Nation invades the Earth Kingdom and Water Tribes, gaining strong footholds against both nations. By the year 15 AG, Sozin uses propaganda to establish a cult of personality around himself and and the royal family as the war rages on. The people of the Fire Nation are taught that the Airbenders were violent and plan to attack the Fire Nation, justifying their slaughter. Fire Lord Sozin eventually dies in 20 AG, aged 102, as his son Fire Lord Azulon succeeds him. Sometime after this, a group of Fire Navy officers defect and form a pirate clan known as the Crimson Sails Armada. The Fire Nation Navy destroys the navies for both the northern and southern water tribes in massive battles, and the Fire Navy begins to raid the southern water tribe. Their cities are devastated, and waterbenders are systematically captured or killed. A woman named Hama is the last known waterbender captured from the south, while the rest go into exile or hiding. Before the year 82 AG, Long Feng becomes the leader of the Dai Li and regent of Ba Sing Se, using his position to suppress knowledge of the war from the young Earth King. Additionally, Fire Lord Azulon marries his younger son Ozai to Ursa, daughter of a noble family and Roku's granddaughter. In 84 AG, Princess Yue of the Northern Water Tribe is born, but she's deathly sick. Her father prays to the Moon Spirit at the tribe's spiritual oasis, and the Moon Spirit gifts Yue with part of its own spirit, saving her life and turning her hair white. In 90 AG, Fire Nation Admiral Yueya launches a campaign called the Devastation against Jasmine Island alongside her second-in-command, Captain Zhao. Skeptical of her motivations, Fire Prince Lu Tin, grandson of Azulon, takes part in the invasion. Realizing she has gone too far, Lu Tin and his men help the defenders of Jasmine Island defeat Yueya, who had secretly planned the attack for selfish, personal reasons. In 94 AG, General Iroh, son of Azulon and father of Lu Tin, begins the siege of Ba Sing Se. Additionally, rumors of another waterbender in the Southern Water Tribe reach the Fire Nation. They attack the village of Wolf Cove looking for them, killing the chief's wife Kaya when she claims to be the waterbender. In reality, Kaya was protecting the real waterbender, her daughter Katara. With Kaya's death, Azulon believes waterbenders to be truly extinct in the south and orders a stop to the raids, diverting those resources elsewhere. In 95 AG, Iroh breaks through the walls of Ba Sing Se, becoming the first in history to do so. However, Lu Tin is killed during the battle, devastating Iroh. He ends the siege after 600 days, retreating and causing the general to be viewed as a failure and disgraced by many, including his brother Ozai. Seizing the opportunity, Ozai privately declares Iroh unfit to inherit to Fire Lord Azulon, citing his weakness and lack of an heir. Azulon, however, loved Lu Tin and is furious at the suggestion. Wanting Ozai to feel the pain of losing his firstborn, Azulon orders him to kill his oldest child, Fire Prince Zuko. Ozai intends to carry out the order, but is stopped by Ursa when she discovers the plot. Instead, she offers a trade. She would craft a poison that leaves no trace, which Ozai could use to take the throne, as long as Zuko lives. Ozai agrees, but now knowing of the poison, banishes Ursa so she could never use the poison on him. Azulon dies that same night, and it's declared that his dying wish was that the throne would pass to Ozai. Iroh does not press his claim, and Ozai is crowned Fire Lord, while Ursa disappears. Ursa secretly returns to her home village and discovers that her parents have passed away, but reignites an old romance with a man named Norin. With the help of the spirit, the Mother of Faces, Ursa's face, memories, and identity are altered. She becomes Noriko, but sadly loses her memory of her life and children with Ozai. After 95 AG, Ozai's strategies become increasingly bold and brutal. He signs a secret deal with the Crimson Sails Armada to end their attacks on the Fire Nation and plots to conquer the city of Omashu. This plan is so dangerous that it causes at least one Fire Army general to defect. In 97 AG, Fire Prince Zuko attends his first war meeting, but is frustrated to hear plans to sacrifice troops. He speaks out, enraging Ozai and sparking a ritualistic duel known as an Agni Kai. Zuko believes his opponent will be the elderly Fire Nation general he insulted, but is shocked when Ozai is instead his opponent. Zuko begs for forgiveness, but Ozai burns his face and banishes Zuko, telling him he can only return if he captures the Avatar. This is a fool's errand since the Avatar has been missing for almost 100 years and was never meant to be completed. Iroh, having come to view the Fire Prince as a surrogate son, accompanies Zuko during his banishment. In 99 AG, Katara and her older brother Sokka discover Avatar Aang in the iceberg and awaken him. They are quickly discovered by Prince Zuko, who confirms the Avatar's identity before they escape. Aang begins his Avatar training, with Katara teaching him waterbending. The three then visit the Southern Air Temple, where Aang discovers that all of the air nomads have been killed. The trio recruit a winged lemur named Momo at the temple. Zuko's ship is ambushed and damaged by pirates, and they're forced to dock at a Fire Nation harbor for repairs. Here, Zuko and Zhao begin a rivalry after Zuko defeats Zhao in an Agni Kai, but spares his life. Aang's group visits Kyoshi Island, where they befriend the Kyoshi warriors and their leader, Suki. The island has remained neutral in the war so far, but join the war effort against the Fire Nation after Zuko attacks the island searching for the Avatar. Despite despite the intervention of Avatar Aang, the fortress city of Shinguan is put under siege and captured by the Fire Nation, paving the way for future invasion efforts. Additionally, the Fire Nation attempts to recover the ancient writings of a famous Earth Kingdom general at Hegemon's Folly, but they are thwarted by a river pirate crew led by Jiang. And despite the Fire Lord's order to withdraw from the south, a Fire Nation crew attacks the South Pole's glacial temple to claim a powerful artifact. Aang and his friends visit Omashu, where they learn that Aang's childhood friend Bumi is now a powerful earthbender and king of the city. Later, led by Katara, prisoners at a prison rig off the coast of the Earth Kingdom revolt against their Fire Nation captors. The rig is later captured and used as a base by the Earth Kingdom army. During the winter solstice, Fire Sage Xiu aids Avatar Aang in the infiltration of and escape from the Temple of the Crescent Island so that he may speak to the spirit of Avatar Roku. Roku informs Aang that Sozin's comet will return by summer's end and that they must defeat Ozai before then. Zhao is promoted to Admiral and captures Avatar Aang, imprisoning him. However, a mysterious warrior named the Blue Spirit helps Aang escape. Aang discovers that Zuko is the Blue Spirit and helps Zuko escape capture after he's knocked unconscious. Freedom fighters led by the rebel Jet attack the Fire Nation village of Gaipan in the Earth Kingdom. Sokka, unwilling to let innocent civilians of any nation die, informs the village of the plan and saves the villagers before they're killed by Jet. In the new year, 100 AG, Aang begins his firebending training with Master Zhang Zhang. However, after he accidentally hurts Katara with the flames, he feels guilty and is hesitant to firebend again. Katara learns that she can heal herself and others with waterbending. Aang's training prematurely ends after Zhao attacks and the group is separated from Zhang Zhang. Aang and his friends visit the Northern Air Temple where they discover the Mechanist and other survivors from his village living in the ruins. Aang is furious at the disrespect that they're showing the temple, but eventually lets go of the frustration. The Fire Nation then attacks the temple but are repelled. Unfortunately, they acquire the remains of a war balloon in the aftermath, and it's taken to be reverse engineered. Aang and his friends arrive at the Northern Water Tribe where Sokka meets Princess Yue, daughter of the chieftain, and they fall in love. Katara is angered that women are not taught offensive waterbending and challenges the waterbending master Pakku to a duel. Though Pakku defeats Katara, he is impressed by her ability and relents, agreeing to train the women. Aang then continues his waterbending training with Pakku. Elsewhere, Zhao discovers that Prince Zuko is the Blue Spirit and conspires to assassinate him. Though nearly successful, Zuko survives. Only Iroh is aware of this. Iroh accompanies Zhao on his next mission to invade the north, while Zuko infiltrates Zhao's fleet. Zhao leads an invasion of Agna Kala, capital of the Northern Water Tribe, though Zuko infiltrates the city during the attack to kidnap Aang. Though the Fire Nation almost defeats the Water Tribe, Zhao oversteps by killing Tui, the physical manifestation of the Moon Spirit in the North's Spirit Oasis. Enraged, Aang briefly merges with La, the Ocean Spirit, and destroys the Fire Nation's forces. Zhao is taken to the Spirit World and forced to wander in the fog of lost souls. Princess Yue sacrifices herself to revive Tui, saving the moon, and Yue becomes one with the Moon Spirit as she dies. In the wake of the siege, Pakku forms the Southern Reconstruction Project, believing that the North has been isolationist for far too long. Pakku then leads this group to the South Pole to rebuild their sister tribe. Elsewhere, after Zhao's failure, Fire Lord Ozai sends his daughter Princess Azula to capture the Avatar, as well as imprison both Zuko and Iroh, whom he believes to be traitors. Azula recruits her childhood friends Mei and Ty Lee for the cause. Azula almost captures Zuko and Iroh, but they realize the ruse and escape. The pair ritualistically cut off their ponytails, recognizing that they will likely never return home. The Fire Nation attacks Omashu, but King Bumi surrenders without a fight, sparing its citizens, though he is taken prisoner himself. This enrages the populace, who form the Omashu Resistance. Aang arrives in the city as the Resistance attempts to kill the Fire Nation governor. Aang stops them, convinces the Resistance to leave the city, and then rescues Bumi, though Bumi turns himself in afterwards. He has other plans. Aang and his friends meet Toph Beifong, a blind girl who has learned advanced earthbending techniques from badger moles. Toph joins the group and begins Aang's earthbending training. Zuko parts ways with Iroh while Zuko goes on a journey of self-discovery. While briefly leaving the group, Toph meets and befriends Iroh, though she is unaware of his identity. Team Avatar form a temporary alliance with Zuko and Iroh to defeat Azula, which results in Iroh's injury and Azula's escape. While briefly separated from the rest of Team Avatar, Katara meets Jiang and her pirate crew. The group breaks through a Fire Nation blockade, delivering medicine to an isolated community. Despite their status as pirates, Katara and Jiang part ways on good terms. Team Avatar finds Wan Shitong's library in the desert, in which Sokka discovers the date of an eclipse that will negate all firebending. Wan Shitong, furious that his knowledge is being used for war, sinks the library into the sand and returns it to the spirit world. Appa is kidnapped by several sandbenders at this time, eventually making his way to a prison in Ba Sing Se. Zuko and Iroh travel to Ba Sing Se Say incognito as refugees and meet Jet along the way. Jet notices Iroh heating a cup of tea and believes him to be a Fire Nation spy. Zuko and Iroh work in a tea shop where Jet confronts them, and Jet is arrested and taken to a secret re-education camp beneath Lake Laogai. Princess Azula leads an assault on Ba Sing Se, hoping to break through the walls with a drill, which ultimately fails. Azula's team fights several Kyoshi warriors, including Suki, who is taken prisoner. Azula uses the Kyoshi's armor to infiltrate Ba Sing Se. Avatar Aang informs the Earth King of the eclipse, but the Earth King doesn't even know there's a war going on. Along with Jet, Team Avatar breaks into Lake Laogai, discovering the Dai Li's treachery, though Jet is killed during the attack. Zuko likewise finds and frees Appa, who soon reunites with Team Avatar. Toph develops the ability to metal bend, a feat long thought impossible by Earthbenders, becoming the first person in history to do so. Long Feng, leader of the Dai Li, allies with Azula and leads a coup d'etat against the Earth King, giving Azula control of the city. Ba Sing Se falls to Fire Nation control. Zuko betrays both Iroh and Team Avatar, siding with Azula, who in turn mortally wounds Aang. Aang only survives because Katara heals him with water from the Spirit Oasis from the North Pole. Azula gives Zuko credit for killing the Avatar, allowing Zuko to return home and protecting herself should Aang have survived. Iroh is imprisoned in the Fire Nation. Aang is unconscious for weeks, during which Team Avatar meets up with Water Tribe soldiers led by Sokka and Katara's father, Hakoda, and hijack a Fire Nation cruiser. While passing as just another Fire Nation ship, they discover that the world thinks Aang is dead, which they decide to use at their advantage and plan a surprise attack during the eclipse. Aang eventually awakens and recovers. Team Avatar spend the next few months infiltrating the Fire Nation. During this time, Sokka crafts a sword made from meteorite and trains under Swordmaster Pian Dao, a member of the mysterious organization known as the White Lotus. Despite returning home and getting everything he seemingly wanted, Zuko feels guilty for betraying Iroh and Team Avatar. He discovers that he is the great-grandson of both Fire Lord Sozin and Avatar Roku and decides to help Aang defeat Ozai. Team Avatar discover Hama, a powerful waterbender living in secret in the Fire Nation. She wishes to get revenge on the Fire Nation and reveals an advanced form of waterbending to Katara, known as bloodbending. This lets a waterbender control someone else's body when the moon is full, which Katara is horrified by, but ends up learning. During the eclipse, Sokka leads an invasion of the Fire Nation capital. However, Ozai and Azula foresaw the invasion and hide while they do not have their bending. Zuko also confronts Ozai and tells him that he will be leaving to help the Avatar. When the eclipse ends, most of the invasion force is captured, with only the younger members and Aang's core group escaping. Zuko also attempts to help Iroh escape, only to discover that he already has on his own. Simultaneously, King Bumi escapes and reclaims Omashu during the eclipse. Zuko joins Avatar Aang and his friends and resumes Aang's firebending training. Aang and Zuko travel to an island inhabited by the Sun Warriors, where they're taught the dancing dragon technique by the dragons Ran and Shaw. Zuko helps Sokka locate the Boiling Rock prison, hoping to free his father Hakoda, who has been captured during the invasion. Suki is also being held in this prison, and the group become the first prisoners to ever escape from the Boiling Rock. Sokka and Suki begin a relationship. Zuko helps Katara track down the man who killed her mother to exact revenge. She almost kills the man in anger, but relents after seeing how pathetic his life has become. As Sozin's comet approaches, Aang has a crisis of faith as he does not wish to kill Ozai. He encounters a lion turtle who teaches Aang energy bending, or the ability to give or take away bending. Ozai plans to use the comet's power to destroy much of the Earth Kingdom with a fleet of airships, so he crowns himself the Phoenix King and passes the title of Fire Lord to Azula. As the comet passes the planet, Zuko and Katara travel to the Fire Nation to confront Azula. Zuko and Azula fight in an Agni Kai, which Azula wins through deceptive tactics. Katara then defeats Azula and heals Zuko. Sokka, Suki, and Toph attack the air fleet and are able to take down the ships before they can burn a significant portion of the Earth Kingdom. The Order of the White Lotus, led by Iroh and consisting of Masters Pakku, Zhang, Bumi, and Pian Dao, liberate Ba Sing Se from Fire Nation control. Avatar Aang confronts Ozai and, after the battle, uses energy bending to take away Ozai's firebending. Ozai and Azula are imprisoned for their crimes, while Zuko is crowned Fire Lord, vowing to help the world rebuild after the 100-year war. The Harmony Restoration Movement is launched to facilitate this, intending to remove Fire Nation colonies from the Earth Kingdom. Despite this, there remains some resistance from Fire Nationals who still support Ozai and Azula. Avatar Aang and Katara begin a relationship that would last the rest of their lives. In 101 AG, Toph founds the Beifong Metalbending Academy to teach other Earthbenders how to metal bend. The Yudao Resistance is formed to prevent the removal of the Fire Nation colony Yudao from the Earth Kingdom, since most of its residents have mixed heritage and families would be split by the removal. Aang and Zuko help facilitate the Treaty of Yudao between the Fire Nation and Earth Kingdom, allowing the oldest Fire Nation colonies to remain as independent entities. During this time, Aang also forms a new order of air acolytes, mostly from the official Avatar Aang fan club. Yes, that's a real thing. In 102 AG, Zuko, Azula, and Team Avatar track down Ursa and restore her memories, reuniting her with the family. Ursa apologizes for leaving her children and returns to the Fire Nation capital, while Azula escapes their custody, forming a small rebel group known as the Fire Warriors. Yu Dao and the other former Fire Nation colonies form a government with representation from the colonies, the Fire Nation, and the Earth Kingdom. The company, Earth and Fire Industries, is formed between Fire Nation and Earth Kingdom businessmen who start mining on the land where Tianheishi Village was once located. This angers the spirit General Old Iron, who threatens to attack. With the help of Avatar Aang, the spirit Tianhei reveals that she is still alive, taking the form of several cranes, and calms General Old Iron. In accordance with Tianhei's wishes, a new village called Cranefish Town is established at the location. Katara and Sokka return to the South Pole, where Master Pakku has started a waterbending school. A group of nationalists then attempt to remove all foreigners from the South, but are defeated. Tensions begin rising between benders and non-benders in Cranefish Town, resulting in the formation of the Bending Supremacist Uprising. This is quickly put down by Avatar Aang. Over the next decade, between 102 and 115 AG, the government created by the former colonies grows. With Aang and Zuko's help, they form a real fifth nation called the United Republic of Nations, with the government led by a council representing each of those nations. Cranefish Town grows into its capital, the large industrial center of Republic City, and the Fire Nation donates a statue of Aang to the city as a gesture of goodwill. At some point, the Order of the White Lotus publicly reveals themselves to the world, intending to serve the Avatar. Not all within the Order agreed to this, with some believing that the once Great Order had been reduced to the Avatar's bodyguards. These tensions caused a splinter faction known as the Red Lotus to form, who are more militant and extreme than the White, and are intent on reconnecting the human and spirit worlds by any means necessary. The events of the film The Legend of Aang, The Last Airbender will take place around this time, though we're not quite sure what that will entail quite yet. During this period, Aang and Katara marry and have two children, Bumi, a non-bender, and Kaya, a waterbender. In 119 AG, their third child, Tenzin, is born. He is an airbender, meaning that Aang is no longer the last airbender. Team Avatar become important figures in Republic City, with Toph acting as its chief of police, and Sokka as a core member of its government and chief of the Southern Water Tribe. In 128 AG, the waterbending gangster Yakone is put on trial for his crimes. He reveals himself to be a powerful bloodbender who is able to use the ability without the full moon, but Aang defeats Yakone and takes away his bending. Sometime after 131 AG, Iroh's spirit willingly leaves his mortal body and enters the spirit world. This is different than a traditional death, as he now lives a normal life amongst the spirits in the spirit world. Over the coming decades, technology continues to advance, and by 138 AG, automobiles known as Satomobiles are invented by Hiroshi Sato of Future Industries. At some point, the blended bending culture of Republic City develop a professional sport called Pro Bending, incorporating elements of all three bending abilities. Around 144 AG, Yakone's son Noatak arrives in Republic City, eventually taking on the identity of Amon. Enraged that he had been born as a weapon to fight against those who had wronged Yakone, and despite being a powerful water and bloodbender himself, Amon starts the Equalist movement to rid the world of benders. He discovers a method of blocking a bender's chi, turning their ability to bend off forever. In 151 AG, heir to the Northern Water Tribe chiefdom Tonraq defeats an invasion by barbarians but destroys a spirit forest in the process. He is banished from the north and travels to the South Pole. His younger brother Unalaq, secretly a member of the Red Lotus who organized the invasion to gain power, becomes heir. In 153 AG, despite his body being relatively young, Avatar Aang dies due to his extended lifespan from being trapped in the ice. He is remembered as a hero by the world, but led a complicated family life, focusing much of his attention on Tenzin to pass on airbending culture. Still, the cycle continues as Avatar Korra is born to Tonraq and Senna of the Southern Water Tribe. Around 156 AG, the businessman Iknik Varric first rises to prominence through corporate espionage and sabotage. By 157 AG, Korra is identified as the Avatar at just 4 years old, able to perform water, earth, and firebending at an incredibly young age. The White Lotus begin Korra's Avatar training as Katara teaches her waterbending. In 158 AG, Chief Unalaq wishes to take Korra under his wing, secretly guiding her towards Red Lotus philosophies with the ultimate goal of releasing Vaatu from his prison during the next harmonic convergence. When Tarlok declines, Unalaq orders fellow Red Lotus members, led by a man named Zahir, to kidnap Korra. They're thwarted by Sokka, Tenzin, Tonraq, and Zuko and imprisoned in specialized dungeons. Unalaq's part in the plot remains a secret. During this same year, Hiroshi Sato's wife Yasuko is murdered by benders in the Agni Kai criminal triad. This radicalizes Hiroshi and pushes him towards the Equalist movement, building technology and weapons for the organization. In 167 AG, Fire Lord Zuko abdicates the throne and passes the title title to his daughter, Fire Lord Izumi. Afterwards, he becomes a traveling ambassador for peace. In 170 AG, Korra completes her firebending training and goes to Republic City to begin her airbending training with Tenzin, though she's unable to access the ability. Here, she meets the brothers Mako and Bolin, a firebender and earthbender respectively, and joins their pro-bending team. Along with Asami Sato, daughter of Hiroshi Sato, they become her friends and companions. Led by Amon, the Equalists begin the anti-bending revolution in Republic City, with Amon taking away many people's bending ability, including the chief of police, Lin Beifong, daughter of Toph. Amon unsuccessfully tries to eradicate airbending by taking away Tenzin and his children's airbending abilities, but fails. Korra's bending is taken away by Amon, though she unlocks her airbending to defeat the Equalist leader. Amon is unmasked as Noatak, a waterbender, collapsing the anti-bending revolution. Noatak flees the city with his brother, the politician Tarlok, who ends both of their lives. Later, Avatar Aang's spirit restores Korra's bending and teaches her how to energy bend, allowing her to restore all of the bending taken away by Amon. In 171 AG, in the fallout of the Equalist uprising, the Republic City Council is dissolved in favor of a democratically elected government representing benders and non-benders alike. Shortly afterwards, the non-bender Raiko is elected as the first president of Republic City. Chief Unalaq convinces Korra to undergo spiritual training under his tutelage, but she discovers his role in the Red Lotus and how he framed Tarlok years ago. As a result, the Water Tribe's civil war begins, spreading all the way from the poles to Republic City. During the conflict, Korra temporarily loses her memories to a dark spirit, and with the help of Iroh connects to the very first Avatar, Wan, to regain them. After Unalaq threatens the life of Tenzin's daughter, Jinora, Korra opens the portals to the spirit world at the North and South Poles. Harmonic convergence occurs, and Unalaq frees the dark spirit Vatu. The two merge and become the very first Dark Avatar, using their combined power to purge Rava from Korra's spirit, severing her ties to all of the past avatars. Despite this, Korra is able to defeat and kill Unalaq, cleansing Vatu's spirit. Korra starts a new Avatar cycle as the barrier between the human and spirit worlds remains open. Korra also decides that the Avatar should no longer be the bridge between humans and spirits, but instead just a peacekeeper. After thousands of years, the earthbending kings Hundun return to the human world, hoping to take revenge on the Avatar. However, Korra defeats and then kills Hundun. After harmonic convergence, several non-benders around the world are suddenly given the ability to airbend, including Aang's son Bumi and Toph's granddaughter Opal. Tenzin travels the world to recruit these new airbenders, hoping to teach them and restart the air nomad culture. However, Zahir is also given airbending, using it to escape his prison and liberate his fellow Red Lotus compatriots. They vow to kill the Avatar to bring spiritual balance to the world. After various spirits and vines from the spirit world enter Republic City, President Raiko banishes Korra from the city, frustrated at the trouble that she's caused. Korra also discovers that she can metal bend, becoming the first Avatar to do so. Zahir and the Red Lotus assassinate the pompous Earth Queen, throwing the Earth Kingdom and Ba Sing Se into chaos. They also attack Tenzin and the Airbenders at the Northern Air Temple, threatening to destroy them if Korra does not turn herself in. The Red Lotus then destroy the Northern Air Temple, though the Airbenders do survive. Bolin discovers that he has the very rare earthbending sub-ability of lava bending, only the second non-Avatar to be able to do so. Zahir, follower of the teachings of Guru Lahima, gains the ability of unassisted flight after his lover is killed in battle. The Red Lotus attempt to force Korra into the Avatar state by poisoning her with mercury so that they can kill her and end the cycle permanently. Korra's team then attacks the Red Lotus, killing all of them but Zahir and saving Korra. Zahir is then subsequently imprisoned. A heavily wounded Korra is welcomed back to Republic City and witnesses Jinora's ceremony to become an airbending master and get her tattoos. The airbenders return to their nomadic roots as Korra returns to the Southern Water Tribe to heal with Katara over the next few months. During this same period, as the Earth Kingdom falls into chaos, the metalbender Kuvira assembles an army to help keep the peace. In 172 AG, Korra leaves the Southern Water Tribe, shedding all identifiable clothing and markings, hoping to rediscover herself and reconnect with Rava. She spends 6 months wandering the Earth Kingdom, fighting random benders for sport, and being haunted by visions of her Avatar spirit attacking her. Prince Wu is crowned the 54th Earth King, but Kuvira uses the coronation to dissolve the monarchy and reform it as the Earth Empire under her leadership. Using the strength she has built up over the last few years, Kuvira successfully annexes every Earth Kingdom province into the Earth Empire. Korra makes peace with an imprisoned Zahir, and with the help of an elderly Toph Beifong, extracts the rest of the mercury poison from her body. The Earth Empire military develops a spirit energy cannon which they attach to an enormous mecha suit. With this, Kuvira marches on Republic City, intending to reclaim Republic territory for the Earth Empire. Avatar Korra and her allies battle Kuvira in Republic City, where Hiroshi Sato sacrifices himself to save Asami and help defeat Kuvira. A new spirit portal opens in Republic City due to the battle, and a defeated Kuvira surrenders herself to Avatar Korra. The Earth Empire is then dissolved and the Earth Kingdom reformed, but despite this, Earth King Wu intends to abolish the monarchy in favor of a democratic system. Korra and Asami then publicly enter a relationship. Tensions rise between humans and spirits as much of Republic City has been damaged or overtaken due to recent conflicts. Additionally, several criminal gangs are displaced because of the spirit portal, creating problems for the entire city. President Raiko is more concerned about this than helping now homeless citizens, leading Varric's business partner and wife Zhu Li Moon to run against him in an upcoming election. Zhu Li is elected the second president of the United Republic and diffuses tensions with the help of Avatar Korra. Kuvira is put on trial for her war crimes, but due to her help thwarting a plot to rig democratic elections in the Earth Kingdom, her sentence is commuted to house arrest. Now, police officers Mako and Bolin investigate a disappearance on the Fire Nation island of Pinquan. Alright, so with the announcement of the new animated series Avatar 7 Havens, we know a little bit about the future of this timeline, but not exact dates or events. So what I want to do to finish us out here is lay out exactly what we know about this new series, and using what we've learned about this timeline, let's predict the plot of this new show. So we know that Seven Havens is going to take place after Korra has died and a new earthbending avatar has been born. However, the world has suffered through a major cataclysm with both the humans and spirit worlds devastated. The remnants of humanity now survive, and these Seven Havens spread across the world, and believe that the avatar was responsible for the disaster. So instead of being a title of great honor, it's a mark that people hate. And knowing that, what can we put together about the plots? Well, one of the big patterns I noticed while putting together this timeline was that an avatar often had to deal with the problems created by their predecessor. So this new earthbending avatar will have to contend with the mistakes that Korra made. Now, I'm not gonna sit here and try to nitpick everything Korra could have done that might have led to this apocalypse. That doesn't sound particularly fun, and the disaster might not have even been related to her. But I do have a really good idea of where this is going. See, this is gonna be dealing with the fallout of how Korra dealt with Vaatu. It was always weird to me that the legend of Korra went in the direction of good versus evil with Vaatu and Rava, instead of the much more Eastern concept of like order and chaos, yin and yang, push and pull. To imply that one of those forces is morally good is kinda weird. And I always thought that introducing a dark avatar and then immediately getting rid of them was kind of a mistake. Well, Seven Havens has an opportunity to address all of that. See, what if the defeat of Vaatu threw the world out of balance, and that is what caused the disaster? The plot of this new show could be about resolving that. And how would they go about doing it? By reintroducing the dark avatar as a foil for the avatar. Not as a villain or an evil spirit or anything like that, but just as their opposite. The yang to their yin, a Vegeta to their Goku, if you will. Like they could even have like a reverse avatar cycle going on, so instead of going like fire, air, water, earth, it could be like earth, water, air, fire. That'd be fun. And I think we actually have a pretty good idea of who this reverse avatar is going to be. See, one of the big things that really jumped out to me about the synopsis for Seven Havens is that the avatar has a twin. That seems like it would be a great opportunity for some conflict, right? Especially if that twin was the dark avatar. Oh, and I also wouldn't be surprised if the storyline of this new avatar is going to be about connecting with all the past avatar lives like Aang and Roku, etc., etc. Hoping to find a way to like find that balance again through their wisdom. So yeah, that's how I see this all playing out. Will I be right?
I would love if that's how the show goes, because that could be actually entertaining. I honestly did not like The Legend of Korra. It was decent, but it was nowhere as good as the first show. Which, I mean, I'm not that surprised Korra didn't live up to The Last Airbender, just because it was such a good show. There is no way they're gonna live up to that. This next one could be rather promising, though.
Wrong? At this point, who knows? But I think we are onto something. But hey, in the meantime, that's just a theory. A film theory. And cut!
Man. I mean, I don't really have anything to say on this video since it's, well, a timeline video. So, I mean, as always, like and subscribe to The Film Theorist and myself, and have a good day. Goodbye.